All right, Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold, investment consultant, Mr. Money Talk. So, man, you got the Vikings on one hand, who just they're so organizationally sound that they could just put Sam Darnold in, and he becomes
Yes.
his net worth is going to increase by $150 million. He's an MVP candidate. The Bears currently, the upcoming opponent on Monday, the Bears currently have their pass game coordinator from the beginning of the year as the
Yes.
head coach. They're firing everyone over there. I don't want to take a game for granted here, Pat, but I don't know.
To take
I don't
this
know.
game for you can take this game for granted, but here's the deal: how close did we come to having Ryan Poles as our general manager? When they were searching for general
Yes.
managers, supposedly he was number one on the list here, and then he wouldn't have hired O'Connell. I don't think he probably would have hired the same guy he hired down there,
Oh
Eberflus or whatever
man.
his name is.
And now
So
Poles is reportedly upset that he has to report to Kevin Warren.
yes, well,
You would
yeah,
be
and
too.
was Warren there when Poles got hired, or was he? Did he come later?
I think he was. I think was he right around that
Maybe
same
It was
time?
right
yeah,
around that time.
yes, because he is a he would have to improve to be a pain in the ass. Kevin Warren, he's a idiot, and Vikings. He strutted around out there like he was going to make decisions, and he had something to do, and And then how he became Big Ten commissioner, I have no idea. I always love to remind Judd and everybody that he was the guy that brought all the leagues together, and we were no longer going to cannibalize each other. And what the alliance? Remember the alliance, the three conferences that were going to make sure the SEC couldn't bully them anymore. And 10 days later, this guy's tearing down the Pac 12 by taking their four best franchises. So, yeah, he's about as trustworthy as, I don't know, a new attorney general or somebody. But anyway, yeah, we're lucky that we have avoided that, to say the least. So.
And the Bears thing though is it really is incredible how they cannot get out of their own way. The Bears, I think their dysfunction would be more of a thing if it weren't for the great history of the Detroit Lions.
Yes.
Because like the McCaskies, this whole thing has been how many things have they somehow screwed up? It's a
Oh,
long
yeah.
list.
Yeah, it is. And here's they had those. I always said, how did they only win one Super Bowl in the 80s with
Yeah.
that collection? But I mean, that was the greatest defense ever assembled in the history of man.
Yeah.
And the league was not, back then you could clothesline a guy and knock him down when he was trying to go out for a pass. He didn't have all these he put his hand on a guy 25 yards down the field, so we're now going to call it a first down and keep the drive going.
Yeah.
Back then you could mug people and beat the hell out of them. I'm still shocked that Ditka only won one Super Bowl with that collection. I mean, there was a lot of good teams around then, but they should have won more. And then, yeah, hell, they got did they got back to a Super Bowl, right? With Lovey? Did they get to the
They
Super
did.
Bowl?
Yeah.
Oh
Rex
Yeah.
five.
Grossman was the starting
Yeah.
quarterback.
Yeah.
Urlacher. Yeah.
That was who beat them? Who beat
The
New
Colts.
England? Oh, Colts.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts.
That
Oh
was
yeah,
Peyton Manning's first
Peyton's
Super Bowl
won
win.
championship. Yeah. Yeah, that boy, you look back, the NFC must have been rotten that year, right? Because that wasn't an explosive Bears team at all. So what? Everybody, it was that was that little period of time when all the good teams were in the AFC, right?
Yeah, it
Pittsburgh
was
and
kind of
all that.
like Carolina was near the. It wasn't the year before that. I
Carolina
think it
went
was
to a Super
Carolina.
Bowl.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
Eagles somewhere
yeah,
in there too.
yeah.
But
So
you like to the point about polls. It does show you, and some of it might just be ownership. Or ownership
yeah,
permeates with the Jets. It permeates with the
yeah.
Panthers. But you are one bad hire away from a bad coach hire, and then bad coordinators, and then a bad draft pick. And
Hmm.
The Vikings got that waterfall. It looks like as correct as you can probably get it the last 3 years.
Yeah, they did get this one correct. Now there's some people who will think they aren't unbeaten in that area. There's an anti-Chili crowd out there. Now I like Chili as a guy, but they had their problems, and I think how long did Spielman run this team? Like 15 years or something? How many years did they have
Well,
it let him?
Brad had final say when Rick was hired, but he was fired in 2010. So after
Hmm.
2010, it was basically the
Yeah,
Spielman show until he got
12 or
fired.
13 years. Yeah, and they
Yeah.
decided they picked Spielman over Chili, right? Then didn't the last
No.
year they'd already taken Chili's manpower? Hadn't they by the last year
Uh-uh.
taken that away from him? I thought they had.
No, in
So
2010, it just all when Chile decided to release Moss and not tell the Wilfs, that was
yes,
the end of it for him.
well, but I still don't think Chili wanted him. I think that was a power play by the Wolves and Spielman to get him in here and save the season.
Oh,
I don't think Chili wanted him.
he
I
certainly
I really
responded
don't.
in kind though when he
Uh,
released him and then
yes.
called the Wilfs and said, "I just released your guy."
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, Randy, heroic, and now he's got some health problem, and good luck to him. But he came in. And unless you were going to pay him, it was extremely stupid to ever bring him back here because the reason he was acting like a jackass in New England was because they weren't going to pay him, right? So if you're not going to pay him, why do you think he's going to come back here and be a nice guy? He's not. He's going to be Brandy.
It's a
So
common thread, Patrick. Moss, Jimmy Butler. If you're not going
yes,
to write out if you're
yes.
not going to pony up, don't bother.
Don't trade for Jimmy Butler when you're going to just give all the money to Andrew Wiggins, which is what Jimmy wanted. Everybody says, "Oh, Jimmy hated it. He hated Tibbs." Jimmy hated the fact he didn't get paid. That's what he hated, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Hey, so the speaking of guys getting paid, finally now after like 3 months, the last 2 days, every national show I duck into is very much talking about the Vikings and Darnold throwing 5 touchdowns.
yes,
And there was outrage on the ESPN even before that game. There was outrage from the panel about why have they not already extended Sam Darnold. So let's say it's $40 million, $40 to $45 million a
no,
year on a 3-year deal.
no. See ya, Sam. I'll go with this kid. I'll go
Yeah.
with this kid. I'm not giving Sam Darnold that kind of money. It's fine to watch this right now. They got the right situation. They got the right receivers. I'm not all hot on him. He's going to go someplace, and within 2 years, they're going to be very disappointed they signed him. That's my theory. I like him. He's okay, but he's still going to be turning it over more often than you'd like in the modern football. And I would not, now if he ends up winning their first ever Super Bowl, then you got an issue, right? Then you got a PR
Yeah.
problem if you let him go. What you're putting JJ McCarthy in a really bad situation if you win a Super Bowl, you let this guy go, and then you're 1-3 next year when the season starts, and
Yeah.
he's having a hard time learning his trade. But no, I do not break the bank for. I just got rid of the burden, the yoke around your neck of Kirk Cousins. It's weighing down the entire franchise and making one playoff win in 6 years. I am not climbing back into that. The reason you drafted McCarthy is you can have a really good team around your quarterback for 3 years at least until if he turns out good and you have to pay him and then you start paying him, then you got problems. They got a shot here if they don't do anything stupid with their salary cap. I mean, my God, 75 million in cap money added to this, unbelievable.
Yeah. And a
So
first round pick. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's and they probably, but if Darnold leaves, they're probably get a compensatory pick too, right? Some kind of a pick.
Be like a
So
third. It'd be 2020. They could also franchise him and trade him if they would have to work with him. I think because you don't want to
yeah, but if you franchise him, you're talking
be
with the
40,
quarterback.
41 million.
Yeah, 40. Yeah, I'm not going to franchise. I don't want to spend 41 million for an extra second rounder or something like that. So
I love
Oh,
though
thank you.
how the national pundits within about a 2 week period have pivoted from Sam Darnold. Are you kidding me? Sam Darnold to if you don't pay him, you're crazy.
You're- yeah.
You
That's
are
just,
an
but
idiot not to pay this guy.
generally speaking, unless we're doing satire, we try to tell what we see as the truth here. That we might be wrong, I might be wrong as anybody, but we are trying to tell you what we really think for
Yeah.
the most part. These jackasses aren't. They're just saying somebody comes to them and let's raise a little hell about this today, and then we'll all scream about this. And it's not based on, this is not real opinions out there on television. This is just people being fed ideas by producers or whoever their mentor to say, hey, and hey, that's how Stephen A makes what, 20 million a year or something,
He just
whatever
got
he's
a
making.
nice little new contract. And
Yes.
part of that new contract is, and I don't know what this means, but because it was vaguely reported that he's going to be somewhat or more involved in other Disney properties. So is that
How about
like movie
a
franchises?
cartoon
A
show,
cartoon. Let's do
maybe?
a
He could
Saturday
be a
morning Stephen
cartoon
A.
show.
Smith
Yes,
cartoon.
right. He could be.
Stephen
He
A.
could
and
be
Scooby Doo.
Yeah, right after Mickey Mouse, he comes. It'll be great. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, he
didn't we
doesn't.
had like the Disney Monday Night Football thing last night? There's plenty of.
We did.
Oh, I didn't. I didn't. What
Oh
did
yeah,
we do last night?
Bart Simpson ended your fantasy league last night. If you were watching, they
Oh,
like animated the game with Disney, right? Isn't that what it was?
mhm.
Like
Yeah, Homer
cartoon
and
characters,
Lisa caught a
I did
touchdown pass.
not
I
or was it
saw.
watch
just
the.
Simpsons?
I
Okay,
only watched bits and pieces of that. Who won that dog ass game, by the way?
the Bengals,
In,
right?
The
in
Bengals beat
spectacular fashion, Pat.
against Dallas. Was it in Dallas?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Dallas
Good.
Dallas blocked a punt.
Okay.
And I believe the game is tied. They're in great shape. Unfortunately, the ball it got blocked, but it didn't go backwards. It went forwards, and the Dallas player didn't know and touched it. And the Bengals recovered for a first down.
Wow. Hey, now can you flex Monday night games, or don't they do that anymore?
Yeah, you got to. It's like a 2 week advance
But
notice,
they,
and the
but
part
the
of the reason they didn't
Cowboys,
flex
they
this is
still think the Cowboys have
no,
enough clout that they
not
keep it
exactly. It
on
was partially
three and
Pat.
two teams.
It was partially that, but this is going to make your head explode even more. The biggest reason why they didn't flex this game is because they had spent the entire season putting together animations for the cartoon version of the broadcast.
I see. Okay, well, that makes sense. That then, yeah. But how about that? You got Joe Burrow, and you're and now you're 4-10.
God, he's
Is it
been good
four and
though.
ten?
Pat,
He's
he's
been
been so
great,
good.
but they stink. How they get that bad? What are their defense
Defense.
just awful? Who's coaching
Yes.
them, by the way? Who's going to get fired next?
Zach Taylor, yeah.
Zach Taylor.
Yep.
Okay, goodbye, Zach. See you later. Boy, this year's massacre day should be pretty good, right? The Monday after the season ends, there should be 8 or 10 of them on the road,
I
on
mean,
the
Doug
street, don't
Peterson
you?
hasn't been fired
Yes.
yet. Mike
Yeah.
McCarthy's probably getting
Yeah. Oh
fired.
God, they
Brian
finally got to get
Dable.
rid of him. Yeah, they finally
Yeah.
got to get rid of him, don't they? Yeah, the guy at Giants hasn't got fired yet, which is unbelievable. The Jets have already fired one guy though, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they got an interim, but they got an interim, so he won't be the coach. So we're gonna have 8 or 10 of them going. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be.
Phil, I didn't talk to you. Do you agree with Judd and I that baseball will have a 2027 lockout for the entire
That's
season?
for the entire season. Well, they
Well, no, I
definitely.
mean that's how long they're going to be willing to sit to get a salary
Yeah.
cap or some form of a salary cap. It's all over now, don't you think?
Well,
Gotta
they
have to
have,
do
yeah,
something.
they have. So the gap has never been wider,
No,
seemingly,
no, it's
because now
just
you got
ridiculous.
like at least half the league, like teams like the Twins that were in the old system for 20 years.
Yes,
At least they were still getting a 50-60 million dollar check to run
yes.
TV. That's gone. So
Mm.
now the gap is even wider between the top 10 teams who bring in 9 figures in TV revenue and teams like the Twins that are starting over. So that's a problem. And
They're
15-year contracts? Like,
yes.
what are we doing?
They're true only because Scott Boras wants more money than Otani. He would have taken 18 years if he could have gotten to get over 700
Yeah,
million. You know, he had to get more money than. But that's the deal with like the NHL when they have a lockout, right? They're all pretty much in sync. But here you have the Dodgers and the Yankees. They don't want a lockout because they don't want to end up splitting the TV money with you, right? So,
correct.
and the Red Sox, even the Red Sox. Now the Red Sox might want to. They might get in on it and do it, and be for a salary cap because they aren't. They're getting savaged because they were stupid enough to pretend like they wanted Soto. So now everybody's saying it was just a bluff, just like the Twins were interested in. Thad kind of used to be the official guy to tell us that we made a call and we were looking at this guy, which we never had a chance to sign. Right? Wasn't he the guy 2-3 years ago when they used to do that?
Yeah. Well, now as I tweeted yesterday, I hope Juan Soto purchases the Twins at this point.
Yes,
He
right.
can
We
play
can.
for the Mets, just purchase the
Yeah.
Twins.
Did you
Would it be
guys see?
illegal if Soto and Otani played for different teams but bought the Twins? Could
Yeah.
that put their money together and buy the Twins? But in racing, Dale Earnhardt used to own a racing team and drive for a different racing team.
Yeah.
We drove for a different, and he had his own racing team that his son had, and then he was when he died, he was racing for Childress, right? He always
Yeah.
still raced for
Richard
Childress.
Childress Racing.
So,
Yeah.
so can we do
Brad
that in
Childress Racing.
baseball? Can we do that for baseball?
We
We
should.
could have Otani and Soto buy the Twins, but they continue to play for the teams they're playing for. So I think that'll work. I
Yeah.
do.
Did you guys see how Boris tried to position this entire thing though after the fact with his guys? Hey, I
John
believe
Heyman.
shockingly, yes, Heyman broke this story. So the positioning was, hey, Juan Soto wanted what was best for his family. And some Yankee Stadium flacky wouldn't allow like his mother or father in a certain area of the stadium. And Juan took that very personally.
Oh,
And
really?
then here's the best part. And then as part of the contractual negotiations, the Boris and Soto asked for a free suite. And the Yankees supposedly said, well, first of all, we don't do that for Judge. He pays for his suite, and we didn't even do it for Jeter, and
Yeah.
Steve Cohen didn't even blink. So this was an obvious
Yes.
choice
Oh,
based
so he
on
got a
family.
free suite. So he got 700 and some million and a
Yes.
free suite. Yeah. Why does he say that stuff? It makes him look like a bigger jackass than ever.
It's all about family, Pat.
When
It's
we
all about
had
Juan Soto. It's nothing to do with money. Forget the money.
Juan Soto's family. Okay, that's right. Anyway, somebody had a pretty good one though, and because kind of playing off my idea that he didn't sign here because he didn't like the right field wall, it was too high and stuff like this. And he said, yeah, we were all ready to name this Minnesota.
Oh,
Minnesota. It was
Oh,
going
what
to
a
be Minnesota.
missed
That was pretty good.
somebody. My
Yes,
other
missed
favorite
it.
tweet was somebody tweeted that the Pittsburgh Pirates actually offered 15 million over 750 years.
Yes. I mean, that's it. What they gotta just shut it down. They gotta say, call us when you're ready. The players. There's no sense in, I don't know if Manfred's the guy to take it on, but listen. And I said this yesterday. Letting the Dodgers get away with this Otani scam where they were stretched out the franchise so they're not paying their full tax is the biggest. That shows Manfred to be the biggest weak need guy of
Yeah.
all time. That he doesn't want to take on the Dodgers. So
There needs to be structure, and that's even and the NBA has had some ratings issues the last
yes,
couple of years, but the NBA and the NFL and the NHL too, just on a lesser scale. Some of the biggest, most entertaining periods for those sports are the off season where, okay, this is a
yes,
3-week window where even though you've never heard of some of these guys, you're gonna be all in. Your team is gonna get players. the fact that the biggest signing in baseball history could go down at any time over a 4-month
Yeah.
period. You don't know.
Yes.
And it happens to come down right during Sunday Night Football on the same day that the college football playoff bracket gets released. So they don't even get to take advantage of it from like a PR standpoint. The whole thing is
No.
broken.
Well, and of course, the other problem is when the biggest player in baseball signs, people in 20 of the markets just keep saying, this is why baseball is ruined.
Yeah.
It's not like, we don't care if somebody in the NBA, we've become neutralized to huge contracts and everything. But, the NBA is doing the last 10 or 12 years with the first apron and the second apron and all this stuff is doing wonders to create a little bit of balance anyway. Though I mean, the Lakers stink basically. They could come in here and win Friday if Anthony Davis decides to tear everybody up, but they're not very. The idea that all these teams are you knew one or two or three teams that were going to win. You don't know that anymore.
The other thing too in the NBA, all of the top players in today's age are going to make $500 million or more
Yes.
playing basketball, but they break it up so that you can only sign to a maximum of 4 or 5 years. So the best players in the game are available, and I know some people hate the player movement era, but it's kind of exciting when like every year there's a top superstar on the market and a bunch of teams have access. Nobody will ever have access again to Juan Soto because he signed a 15-year contract. Like he will, unless he opts out after he has a 5-year opt out. But when he's 31, maybe, by the way, when he's 31, he's probably opting into the other 10 years of that contract. So
What was the
it's
final number?
765, wasn't it?
765 and a suite.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
cow!
so his
What
family's
the-
taken care of because
And
that's
the
really what this
suite.
is about.
Yes,
Family, the money's secondary, Pat.
the free suite. Yes, and they didn't let mom and dad walk on the field when they wanted to.
Yeah, we don't know exactly where this overzealous usher stopped them from going, but it cost them Juan Soto. We know that now.
Yeah.
Hey,
Amazing.
I'm always a big fan of Yankee Stadium ushers because still my favorite all-time usher, the 25-year-old skinny girl when they were threatening to kill us at the World Series, that we were out in the stands in the auxiliary box and they were, let's get the medias. They're screwing up the Yankees. Let's get the media. And I'm looking and this skinny little girl pats me on the back and says, that's okay, big man. I'll take care of you. I'll stand your
You're good.
legs.
You're
So
safe.
that's what you need. Yeah, this gal wouldn't have screwed it up. So anyway,
Yeah. All right, Pat.
all
We'll
right.
catch up later on this
See
week.
ya. All righty, goodbye.
All right, Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold.